Rich Italians spent 100 years calling tomatoes poison. They refused to eat them, refused to cook with them, and left them rotting in gardens. But the broke families of Naples had nothing else to eat, so they tried them anyway, and accidentally created one of the most important foods in history. From fried pizza, born in a bomb city, to a dessert that only exists because a king lost his temper, these are 7 foods that were invented in Naples. Number 7. Pizza fritta. World War II wiped out most of the wood-fired ovens across Naples. Bombs had flattened bakeries and homes across the city. Families could barely afford flour, let alone a proper pizza. So they did the only thing they could. They took their usual dough, stuffed it with ricotta and provola, and dropped the whole thing into a pot of boiling oil on the stove. Nobody expected it to taste good. But the dough puffed up golden and airy, crispy on the outside, soft and chewy on the inside, and the ricotta melted into this warm, creamy center that regular oven pizza could never touch. Families used whatever scraps they had for filling: salami, cheese, pepper, sometimes just ricotta by itself. And because the ingredients cost almost nothing, street vendors started frying them on every corner of the city and selling them for pocket change. You could get a full meal for less than a loaf of bread cost, and it tasted 10 times better. The craze grew so fast that by 1954, Sophia Loren played a pizza fritta vendor in a film called The Gold of Naples. Today you can still find vendors frying them in the old city center, folded into half moons or served overfilled on paper plates. A food that started because people had no ovens and no money ended up becoming one of the most loved street snacks in all of Italy. But pizza fritta was survival food. The bread at number 6 was built for the exact opposite reason, and families have been hiding the recipe from their own neighbors for over 400 years. Number 6, casatiello. This bread weighs enough to anchor a small boat. Casatiello is a ring-shaped Easter loaf that has been on Neapolitan tables since the 1600s, and we know that because Giambattista Basile mentioned it in his writings. That same guy wrote the original fairy tales that Disney turned into Cinderella and Sleeping Beauty, so when he talks about a bread recipe, you know it has been around for a while. Every single Easter, families across Naples start preparing casatiello days in advance, and the tradition has not slowed down in over 4 centuries. But the inside of this loaf is where things get wild. The dough is made with lard, then packed full of salami, pork cracklings, and 3 different cheeses that include provolone, pecorino, and parmesan. Whole eggs sit baked right into the top under little dough crosses that represent the crucifixion. So even before you cut into it, casatiello is telling a story. The lard in the dough gives it this soft, almost flaky texture that you will never get from regular bread. This bread is dense, fatty, salty, and peppery, with that aged cheese funk hitting you from every angle. You serve it in thick slices at room temperature, and just one piece can fill you up until dinner. Some families refuse to share their exact cheese ratio with anyone outside the household, like it is government-level classified information. And that kind of obsession over food runs deep in Naples, because the dessert at number 5 has a recipe so old that the original version contained an ingredient that will genuinely shock you. Number 5, pastiera napoletana. A food writer named Antonio Latini documented this dessert in 1693, but legends push it even further back to ancient Roman festivals honoring Ceres, the goddess of harvest. And the original recipe had actual Parmesan cheese mixed into a dessert, alongside pistachios and marzipan. That combination sounds completely wrong today, but 4 centuries ago, sweet and savory desserts were normal across Europe. Those ingredients slowly disappeared over time, but what pastiera actually is never changed. Modern pastiera uses short crust pastry filled with cooked wheat berries, ricotta, eggs, and sugar, scented with orange blossom water. The wheat gives it this chew that catches you off guard because your brain expects smooth custard and instead gets something with grain and body to it. That texture sits somewhere between a pudding and a porridge, and the flavor lands in this sweet spot between floral, milky, and bright that no other dessert in Europe even attempts. But the real secret sits in the timing. Every grandmother in Naples says the same thing. You bake pastiera a full day before serving, and you do not touch it until the next morning. It genuinely tastes better after sitting overnight because the flavors need that time to settle and merge. The wheat, the ricotta, and the orange blossom all calm down and blend into something that fresh pastiera simply cannot deliver. Patience makes this dessert work. However, patience had absolutely nothing to do with the pastry at number 4, because that one was born from nuns with leftover ingredients and close to 2 centuries of total silence. Number 4, sfogliatella. Sisters at the Santa Rosa convent on the Amalfi Coast had extra semolina and dried fruit in the 1600s. They mixed a filling, wrapped it in dough, baked it, and kept the whole thing to themselves. Nobody outside those walls even knew it existed. That recipe stayed locked inside the convent for almost 200 years, until a Naples pastry chef named Pasquale Pintaro got hold of the idea around 1800 and rebuilt it into the crispy, layered, triangular shell that exists today. He opened a shop on Via Toledo in Naples and started selling them to the public for the first time ever in 1818. 2 rival versions have been fighting across Naples ever since, and picking a side is basically a personality test. Riccia is the crunchy one, made from dozens of paper-thin dough sheets rolled with lard that shatter the second your teeth go through them. Frolla is the softer, butterier version. Both have a filling of semolina and ricotta with sugar and citrus. But the filling is not what makes it special, the texture is what sets it apart, and every person in the city enforces one rule about eating them. You eat sfogliatella screaming hot. If those layers stopped crackling before they reached your mouth, you already missed it. A cold sfogliatella is a wasted sfogliatella, and Naples does not accept that. Sfogliatella turned convent scraps into something world famous. The pizza at number 3, though, exists because poor families ate a fruit that wealthy Italians were too terrified to even touch. Number 3, pizza marinara. When tomatoes arrived from the Americas in the 1500s, rich Italians would not go anywhere near them. They called the fruit suspicious, treated it like it was straight-up poison, and left it sitting in gardens as a decoration for years. It took almost a century before anyone dared to cook with them, and the first people brave enough were hungry Neapolitan families with empty stomachs and nothing to lose. They put tomatoes on flatbread with garlic, oregano, and olive oil, and that was the entire recipe. But what came out of those ovens was something nobody saw coming. The earliest record goes back to 1730, making this pizza almost 300 years old. 0 mozzarella, 0 toppings, just 5 ingredients total. The oregano gives it a dry herbal edge, the garlic cuts through the natural sweetness of the tomato, and the olive oil rounds everything out without adding heaviness. The proper way to cook it is blistered fast in extreme heat, so the rim puffs with air and the center stays soft. The name comes from La Marinara, meaning the sailor's wife, because fishermen's wives made this for their husbands before they headed out to sea. Almost 300 years later, marinara is still the proof that Naples never needed fancy ingredients to create something unforgettable. But the sauce at number 2, though, has a name that belongs to a completely different city, and Neapolitans have been claiming it as their own ever since the 1700s. Number 2, pasta alla Genovese. The name says Genoa. The recipe belongs to Naples. That argument has been going on since the Bourbons, and nobody is winning anytime soon. Both cities will go to their graves claiming ownership. Genoese traders probably brought an early version during Bourbon rule in the 1700s. But Naples took the concept and made it unrecognizable. They grabbed onions, sometimes 2 full kilograms worth, threw in a chunk of beef, usually rump or shin, and cooked everything on the lowest flame for 4 to 5 hours. And that long wait is the whole point. Those onions break down into a thick, golden cream that tastes sweet, rich, and nothing like tomato-based sauce. 0 tomato goes into this. All the sweetness comes from the caramelized onions, and the savoriness comes from the beef slowly falling apart over hours of cooking. The finished sauce has this silky, almost jam-like texture that coats every piece of pasta. The pasta of choice is ziti, snapped by hand before boiling, which Neapolitans insist gives a better bite than cutting with a knife. Ask anyone in Naples whether Genovese or ragu makes the better Sunday sauce, and be ready for a fight that lasts well past dinner. Both take hours to prepare, both go on pasta, and both have been handed down through families for generations. But Genovese has no tomato, which makes it completely unique among Italian meat sauces. Genovese takes all afternoon to make, but the food at number 1 took just 1 afternoon in 1889 and changed the entire world forever. Number 1, pizza margherita. In 1889, a pizzaiolo named Raffaele Esposito got summoned to cook for Queen Margherita of Savoy during her royal visit to Naples. He prepared 3 pizzas. She picked the one with tomato, mozzarella, and basil. 3 ingredients matching the red, white, and green of the Italian flag. He named it after her on the spot, and a cheap street food that working people ate with their hands became a national symbol overnight. But the reason nobody has managed to properly copy it comes down to math. The dough ferments for at least 12 hours, sometimes days. The mozzarella has to come from buffalo milk, made fresh that morning. The tomatoes have to be San Marzano, grown in volcanic soil right at the base of Mount Vesuvius. And the oven has to reach roughly 900 degrees Fahrenheit. Miss one variable, and you just have regular pizza wearing a costume. The tomato brings sharp sweetness, the mozzarella cools everything down, the basil adds a fresh green punch, and the crust delivers char, chew, and air all in a single bite. In 2010, the European Union gave Neapolitan pizza an official legal protection, one of the few foods on Earth with a definition written into actual law. And after more than 130 years, with billions of copies sold across every country on the planet, the version they serve 3 blocks from where Esposito first made it still tastes better than all of them. Hit subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this, and if you want every style of pizza broken down the same way, that video is on your screen right now.